Alrighty, guys, what is up? Welcome back to another episode of Modded Satisfactory with Lone Debater 7. And today we are going to be setting up our plastic and rubber refinery. So I've expanded the base quite a bit, in between episodes. I don't know exactly what order these are all going to be uploaded, but anyway, we're at the point now where we need plastic and rubber. So we're going to set up the refinery for it. So I figured let's go ahead and make a guide for getting your first plastic and rubber refinery set up. So we've got a pure crude oil node that's doing 240 per minute. I have it split into three containers just so it's easy. We have it, so it's easy in the sense that we have three different outputs that are all buffered. So in theory, we might be able to get a better split than if we were to just throw a T off of the extractor itself. So that's fine. We're just going to swap to Zoop mode real quick because it's a little bit easier. In this I do just want to mention before we get too far ahead while I'm laying some foundation out. Um, I am going to try this one. We're going to do voiceover through the whole thing and just kind of go normal speed as opposed to the normal like time lapse with music, blah, 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 that we've done in some of our other build guides. Let me know in the comment section which format you kind of prefer, and I'll try to stick to that going forward as best as I can. Some things it might be better for voiceover. I feel like the refinery is a bit complex and sometimes it's not the easiest to figure out because the fluid logistics is a little bit trickier sometimes than the just normal conveyor belt logistics, primarily due to the head lift issues that you may run into sometimes. But I'm just making this platform. I don't know if we're going to use all of this platform for actual refineries or if this is just going to be kind of like walkway or what. But we're going to lay this out. I know that it's going to go to this ramp for sure because this is the ramp to get back to our base and to where the hyper tube is. So we're going to go ahead and throw this platform out this far. I mean, that's a sizable platform. There may be enough space here for us to um, actually fit everything. So we'll see. If not, we'll expand a little bit. It won't be a big deal, but just move the power pool so it's... I do that so I can mark where the ramp is located. So next, let's go ahead and get our truck station figured out. So I plan on using a truck or a truck loop or tractor, I guess. It's not the actual truck, it's the smaller one, so it's the tractor. Clear out some stuff, but also I plan on using this tractor to move the rubber and plastic that we're producing back to our main base so I don't have to come all the way out to the oil refinery every single time I want plastic or rubber. Instead, I can just go to the drop point, or maybe I'll move it into a storage facility or something like that, and it'll be a lot closer for us when we're working on the rest of the factory. So that'll be good. I do have Hyperloop transport. You can see the entrance over there on the right, but that takes us back to our main base. So I do have a way to get back out here quickly, but that's not going to move items. So I'm going to build this platform out right here for the tractors, and we're going to put our truck station on this. I'm doing the truck station up at this altitude as opposed to down the ramp because the tractors move at like half speed, if not a little bit slower, when going up 4-meter ramps, whereas if they're on a straightaway the whole time, they go full speed. So we'll save approximately like 15 seconds on each side of the loop, so 30 seconds total per loop iteration by having the truck station above the ramp as opposed to at the bottom of the ramp. So hopefully that makes sense. We're going to place it in here. The way I plan on doing this, in the past I've done it where I have a rubber station and a plastic station, and that sometimes is a good way to do it when you're producing a lot of one or the other item, like of one item. So like when we start producing a bunch of plastic, we might throw in a dedicated plastic truck station and set that up. But for the time being, I'm just going to pipe both the rubber and the plastic inside of this truck station because we have access to smart splitters, which allows you to filter what items go in and out of belts. So on the flips, I want to talk about this real quick. So when I'm placing these conveyor belts, if you use the mounting pole, you can put it right in line with the belt you just placed on the edge, and then you can bring the belt down and snap it to that point, so the belts will be perfectly next to each other, and you don't even have to like mess around with it. It's just an easy snap, and it snaps on. It's a snap point as well for that conveyor pole. So just a little tip, but Anyway, we're going to use smart splitters on the receiving end of this tractor loop in order to sort the plastic and rubber. We'll talk about that when we get there. But first, let's place our refineries. So we got 240 oil. And I mean, we might have a little bit excess. I think we're going to shoot to use about 120 oil for this one. That way, if you find a normal node, you can still do this. So doing plastic requires 30 crude oil a minute. If we do another refinery here and show you the rubber, well, we're going to place 2 plastic and 2 rubber refineries is what we're going to do. Or 3 rubber refineries, maybe. We'll go back through and set the recipes, and we'll talk about the ratios in just a second. But I believe it is 4, so you do 2 plastic, 2 rubber. That does 10. A plastic does another 10. And then the rubber does 20 and 20. And that's on the residual heavy oil. So on rubber, you get 20 residual heavy oil per minute per refinery, whereas plastic only gives you 10. And doing residual fuel, which converts that residual heavy oil into fuel, requires 60 of that heavy oil per minute. So the way this is set up, if we do halvesies, so half doing plastic, half doing rubber, so 2 and 2, we will produce a perfect amount to run one excess fuel refinery. So that's what we're going to do here. So basically, the output pipes of those 4 refineries go into the input of the refinery on its own over here, and that's it. And then those refinery output belts are going to do either plastic or rubber, respectively. We just need to put them up into the truck station, not a big deal. I'm going to throw down some fluid buffers just so we have some excess storage capacity initially. I might need to power slug some of these to get it to work, depending on when things turn on and whatever. But that'll hold our heavy residual oil before it goes into our fuel factory. That way we can kind of ensure that our fuel factory is always running. I'm going to see if I can get this to work on the T. I've tried before. I haven't been able to get it. Like, you would think if you put it perfectly in line, that would connect to the refinery, but it doesn't. And there's no way to put a pipe, so I'm fighting with the snap to get it to work. We're just going to break it. It's fine. I know it doesn't work, so if we do something like this, we can put a junction inside, or on this belt, or pipe. It's not a belt, it's a pipe. So I'm just going to bring them out one initially, and that will make this a bit easier to do. So now you connect these like this, put a pipeline cross right there, and then you connect that one to that one, and do another junction right there, and connect that one to that one, do another junction right there, and connect that one over to the storage buffer. So this is the output of all 4 of these refineries combined, is this pipe right here. So perfect, we're just going to bring this over. I'm doing a little bit of elevation here so I can walk underneath these. The head lift should be fine without a fluid pump, I'm pretty sure, even though I have this elevated. If we need a fluid pump, they're pretty inexpensive, so we'll place them down. Not a big deal. But we're going to do something like that. I'm going to take out the little support stands right here, just because they get in the way when you're trying to walk around, especially if you stack like 3 or 4 pipelines in the same location. You won't be able to walk there, even though there's nothing necessarily in your way. There's the support pole in your way. So I don't know. I mean, I could try to anchor it and like do it that way, but it's too much effort, I feel like, and it's not that big of a deal. It's easier. You just remove it. It still works, so blah. But we'll get 40 fuel per minute out of this as well. So in addition to the plastic and rubber, which we should be getting 40 of each of those per minute out of this setup, we also get 40 fuel per minute out of this setup. So once we unlock Fluid Handling Mark II, I don't have that quite yet, which is why I'm putting down multiple fluid buffers here as opposed to just one, because I need to store the fuel for a brief moment until I get advanced fluid handling. The reason for that is I need plastic to do that research or that milestone. So this is how I'm kind of dealing with that. 3 fluid buffers, generally speaking, is enough to run this system to generate you the plastic and rubber you need to get the milestone, so you can set up the packager, so you actually have the fuel sink that you need, more or less. So ultimately, what's going to happen is the output of these 5 refineries are going to be 3 things. We're going to have plastic, we're going to have rubber, and we're going to have packaged fuel. Now, the plastic is going to be 20 plastic per minute, because 20 of that plastic is going to go towards making canisters for the packaged fuel line. So we'll get 40 packaged fuel per minute, 20 plastic per minute, and 40 rubber per minute out of these 5 refineries. So it's not a whole lot of resources. However, it is perfectly efficient. It's balanced. It'll run pretty much indefinitely, assuming you've got power supplied. It requires only 120 crude oil to run as well, which is not bad. It's perfectly split for a normal oil node. So for my first oil node that I set up an extractor on, like this is how I use it, is with this build right here. 5 refineries in a line, or 4 in a line, 2 making rubber, 2 making plastic. Then you go with 1 on its own making fuel. And that serves to basically, it makes all the early basic tier refinery stuff, or it makes all the refinery stuff in basic amounts. And then when you get to the point where you need more plastic for computers and things like that, then you can shift over and use your crude oil specifically to make plastic, and then deal with the resultant overflow of heavy residue oil or whatever. And that's not too bad to set up. And we'll deal with that in a future episode. I'll probably show you how to set up a mega plastic factory when we do the computer factory build, which I plan on doing in the future. So if you want to see that and want to get notified when it comes out, be sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Anyway, we're just setting up this oil pipeline, so they're all connecting in. It looks pretty good down until you get to the end, but that's fine. Good enough for me. It'll work. All the oil will go through. We shouldn't need head lift, I don't believe. Yeah, those are all filling up, so perfect. It's just buffering through the pipeline. It takes a moment, but not a big deal. This will eventually start getting the heavy residual oil. Now, this may have an issue going up this altitude, but we need to wait a moment because there's not a whole lot of this being made quite yet, so it might be fine. If this drops down to like 0, that means like we might need a pump. Let's just try sticking a pump on it and see what happens. If it says that it's generating head lift, we needed the pump. If it says 0 head lift, it means remove the pump. So remove the pump, and it'll be fine. That'll also give time for the pipe behind to buffer some fluid so it can actually push through and saturate the line. So let this run for a few minutes, or maybe not that long, like a couple minutes. By the time we have the output belts finished for the plastic and rubber, the residual oil should be filling up the buffer, I believe. So there we go. Put that in line. Perfect. Then we're going to go in and just get all these out. So basically, I'm going to merge the plastic lines together. I'm going to merge the rubber lines together. Then I'm going to merge those 2 lines together up towards the truck station. So before they go up the lift, I think we'll maybe merge them. So first, let's do the plastic together. The reason why I'm doing it this way is because if I decide to expand rubber or plastic in the future, I can use the back output or the back input of this merger to throw in the mass output of whatever expanded production line I'm going to use. So like, let's say I add 8 more plastic refineries on the refinery merger on the left. So we're going to hook that up here. In the middle, on the back there, we're going to have an open input. We can throw the production of 8 plastic refineries into that input in the back, and it will feed into the truck system, into the existing route, all the architecture that we already have infrastructure that we have pre-built. So all we're going to do now is take this with the Mark III and the other one with the Mark. I mean, we could do that and just go Mark III, because that's all we're really doing at this point. I'm going to elevate these first. I mean, it's not a big deal. I guess we'll do that for now. We could merge these together since we're going to split them on the other side anyway, since, the truck doesn't put them in a way where a normal splitter will put plastic than rubber. So we're going to use smart splitters anyway, so we could put the rubber and the plastic on one belt since it's not exceeding 270. Doing it this way, however, we have 40 items on each belt right now. The plastic will eventually go down. Well, it just call it 40 items. It's fine. 40 on each. And then in the future, if we throw a merger on these belts that are elevated, which will stand out because they're elevated and they're connected to the lifts, right? We throw a merger on those, it will then connect into this truck station, and bada bing, bada boom, we're set. There we go. Fill up this truck station. Oil Refinery 1 is starting to get rubber and plastic inside of it. As far as power is concerned, we're doing okay on power. We're going to have to look at expanding that soon. I need to do the solution heater refined power research in order to expand our power infrastructure. That's another way we could sink this fuel. So basically the byproduct of the plastic and rubber is fuel. So you either need to package it and store the packaged fuel, or you have to burn it in a fuel generator or a refined power solution heater. Like you need to do something with it because eventually your storage will fill up and then your system will stop making the materials, right? So we're going to do package fuel for this little one first, and then we can just throw excess package fuel into a resource sink so it'll always run. But so we're going to do that, I think, just because having package fuel will be nice once we build a jetpack. You need it in order to use the jetpack, so there's that. But afterwards, when we have more fuel being made as a byproduct, we're going to go through and just make sure we get. We're going to set up power. I'm just throwing on some valves right here. They cost rubber. I unlocked. I don't know, just for fun. That way, there's no backflow. I mean, technically speaking, this should help the output of this system actually have a combined flow of the four refineries that are supplying the pipe, right? That's the concept anyway. I don't know if that's actually how it works and if those valves are really necessary, but we threw them in anyway. They're not that expensive. And it gave us a reason to use some rubber. We don't really have a use for that at this point, so whatever. We spent 8 rubber, guys. We spent 8 rubber. Look at us, flexing hard. No worries. Okay. So there you go. There's our 5 refineries. It's getting us resources. Now we just need to set up the transportation loop, and we'll kind of be good to go. For this, I am going to throw a lookout tower on this side. I think that'll look kind of good. And then when you come out to this part of the base, you can come over, climb up on this tower, and look out and see the area around. Because this is like the beachfront, so it is kind of a cool area. So you've got like an ocean, island, beach, all this stuff. You can see all the items coming in from the refineries. It's a pretty good view. And I mean, this will become a larger platform in time because we're going to expand our oil and our refinery production. So yeah, this will eventually be really a cool vantage point to see all of our plastic and everything. I plan on kind of using hyperloops and building some structures off of that point and all of that good stuff. But let's go ahead and get the transportation set up so we can get the plastic and rubber back to our base. I'm just going to empty the stuff out of this box first because I actually want that with me. 87 coal should be enough to complete this. There's coal hooked up on the other end, so I don't need to put fuel in at this side. Actually, you know what? We're going to use this one for exploration, so I'm just going to park it off in this area. So this is kind of like a hangar bay, more or less transportation zone, transit hub. I don't know what to call it exactly. Well, I don't know what to design it like either, but let's take our hyperloop back to our base so you can kind of take a look. So I put this together after building the bridge and stringing the power and blah, blah, blah. I decided, well, I have hyperloops, let's build some. It makes it quite a bit faster, so here we go. Boom, we hit a speed booster right there. Yeah, flying through. Not a big deal. It takes a little bit to get from the refinery back. So this is why we're setting up this truck loop, right? Because think about how long this is taking, right? If I have to do this times two every time I need plastic and rubber, that would really suck. And this isn't even and that's assuming you're right here, right? Which is the storage zone for plastic and rubber. So that's not too far. Like, this is a lot closer. This is one jump away from our main hub, right? Whereas the refinery is two jumps away, and one of those jumps is like a kilometer. So whereas the jump to the storage facility is like 150, 200 meters, if that. So anyway, we've got this refinery drop point set to unload. It comes out the back. I only have one line set up. I'll probably set up another Mark III belt line above, but these are Mark IIIs, as you can see, going into a smart splitter. So with this, left is plastic, right is rubber, center any undefined. So rubber goes out, plastic goes out, anything excess comes up to the front, like petroleum coke we might have at some point, or packaged fuel might go on one of these. Then we can put any undefined, or we could do overflow. I don't know what to put on the right. It doesn't necessarily matter at this point. We don't need these yet. But if we set the center to overflow, we can put a resource sink at the end of this. And then once our boxes are full upstairs, the refinery is still run. That way, if we are using the fuel for something specific, or if we're missing parts of it but not some of it, so like packaged fuel and rubber, we're not going to use right away, but the plastic we are. We're still going to want more plastic even when we're full up on rubber and fuel. So anyway, let's go ahead and get the transit loop set. So go start record, and we're just going to drive. This homie, of course, gets in our way. That's fine. We're loading up anyhow, or unloading. I almost forgot to push the key. Then we just drive through. And this is why I need the bridge underneath that Hyperloop, is literally just so the trucks can go back and forth. And it's only this truck for the time being. If at some point I need more logistical transport, so like if the items inside of the truck station at the refinery start filling up, then we'll maybe throw in a second truck. But in theory, this system should be fairly future-proofed. We may, like when we get Mark IV conveyor belts, we could upgrade the inputs and outputs on either side of this truck loop with Mark IV belts, and that would improve the throughput. But other than that, I mean, it's pretty much set up the way you would do it, I think. So here we go. Other side, we're going to slow down, we're going to turn, we're going to drive in underneath the little crane and load cargo into our tractor. Oh yeah, look at that, it's loading. Woo. Drop that crate. There we go. Now we're going to drive back like you do. I actually quite like the use of the trucks or the tractors to move items around when you need to go like a kilometer or more. It's quite handy. Even for like 500-600 meters, it's quite handy because the trucks and the truck stations are not that expensive, assuming you have modular frames and rotors automated already. They're not that expensive. If you don't have those automated, then maybe not. But yeah, I actually quite like the trucks. I haven't really used the trains all that much. Generally speaking, I don't know. The trucks seem to be good enough, but maybe we'll try to use some trains when we get them unlocked in this playthrough. Let me know in the comment section if you want to see me do a guide on setting up some of the trains in this playthrough. Anyway, there we go. Complete the loop. There we go. Then we're just going to open the record menu. Or first I'm going to save the path so I can access it again later if I decide to add in another truck. I can use the same path. Or refinery loop 1. Perfect. Save. Then we're going to go enable autopilot from the record menu, jump out, and that guy's going to go do his thing. He's going to go pick up the resources. But as you can see, our materials are already coming in through our splitting system, sort system, and we should have rubber and plastic in the two boxes on the right. So this should be plastic. Yep, you can see, getting some plastic in there. And this should be rubber. Yep, getting some rubber. Awesome. Now, it won't be a lot each time initially, but when the truck goes and picks up this next run, or maybe 2 or 3 runs in the future, I think it will be about balanced, meaning this truck should, and this system on either end should be able to unload every item that comes into the truck station before it comes in with more items, just because this this is the truck station on the other end can only fill with the same amount of items as are being exported on this end. I guess what we could do is throw on the second belt up top with the Mark III, and that would help with this. So if we do a Mark III and bring it out, let's just stack it, I guess. That makes it easy. So smart splitter, perfect input like that. Connect with the Mark III. Then we need to get up here. It's going to be plastic on the left, and then the right is rubber. And then the center is going to be any undefined. Now this one has a hypertube in the way, which is annoying. I guess we could put it off to the left, maybe? Like, well, we could soft clip it. Let's just soft clip it. Um, I really hate that that's the case. I wish I could snap it off of that. Oh well, fine. We'll just put it on this side. It doesn't really matter. Or we... Fine. I'll live. Soft clip it. Fine. Call it good. So center will be overflow, but let's do the left. It's going to be petroleum coke. Center is overflow, and that can be whatever. It doesn't matter. Eventually, those will get changed to something else when we have a third output from our oil refinery. But at this point, we only have two, so those don't necessarily matter, except for the overflow. You definitely want the overflow set up so we can put a resource sink at the front, and in reality, we should put 2 resource sinks at the front, and then we can potentially sink, what is that, 270 times 2, so 540 items a minute, which is not bad because it's plastic, rubber, or packaged fuel, which are reasonably high value, at least for the mid game. Like, we should get some decent tickets out of that if we throw stuff down. But I'm just throwing in the mergers, so I need to merge the plastic in so it goes up the lift, right? So there's that done. Easy peasy. And then I need to do the same for the rubber. Or we did the rubber already, maybe. That's fine. Not a big deal. Let's do this. The problem is if we're moving, we want to move 270 plastic out, and we want to move 270 rubber out, right? Because if we're getting just that single resource, we want to have the capacity on the belt. So really, we should do a second lift. So having these industrial containers will allow us to do a second lift. We can just attach it to the second input on the box and bring the lift down and throw the box down like this. Bring it over and just connect them. I mean, like that. Boom. Easy peasy. I mean, the other ones used a lift to bridge the gap, but this is fine because I can still walk underneath these, so I'm fine. I'm fine with that. That looks fine, I guess. But this will work because now we have a way for plastic and stuff to come in. This will bring down for the third output of the refinery. This is probably going to be packaged fuel is what that's going to end up being. But it's set for petroleum coke right now because if I decide to set up a fuel refinery, that's going to go into that. I'm not sure why plastic ended up there. It's got to be any undefined. Maybe the plastic belt was full or something. Well, now it's set to overflow. That's overflow, which will go out. I think this will work. Let's see if this works when this truck drops off. Because there will be plastic and rubber. We'll verify that our sorting system is actually sorting the materials into the proper areas. Perfect. And then we can also see at what point the truck station on this end is empty. and at what point the truck returns. So, like, if this is empty before the truck comes back, we should be fine. This system will work for what we're doing. And I mean, we shouldn't have any issues. So, like, we're already empty. Yeah, we're not gonna have any issues. The truck just barely left, so perfect. Now we're not producing a whole lot right now. In theory, we should have 270 per minute, so quite a bit. But there's plastic, there's rubber. 5 refinery station, 120 crude oil per minute. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like and a comment down below, and subscribe if you're new to the channel. But we're gonna wrap it up here for today. Until next time, this has been Lone Debater 7, and we will see ya.